Hi, and welcome back to the Joy of Transformation. I'm Cathy Jo Lang, registered nurse certified life coach and podcast host of the Joy of Transformation and also the Unplanned Joyful Life. I just want to say welcome. And today I want to kind of have a difficult conversation. One of the things that I have had to do over the span of my life is to often initiate difficult conversations. And part of me doing that, I believe, is part of it is just my personality. I think I tend to be more of an empath. I am very sensitive and can be quite porous to other people's thoughts and ideas and emotions. And so I think that I do tend to be a little bit more sensitive and aware of things or of issues, and I'm not comfortable with an elephant in the room. So if I feel like there's some type of conversation to be had that will bring truth to light or will improve our relationship or will improve my mental and emotional health, my spiritual health, I have learned over the years that it is important to have difficult conversations. And I will share another episode where I talk about how to have a difficult conversation. And so I want to just start by saying it's really never easy. There is always stress. And some apprehension beforehand, because when we have difficult conversation, there's a reason why they're called difficult, because they tend to be topics that maybe are uncomfortable to talk about, or maybe we've had like a personal issue, or we may have felt offended by somebody. And in order to feel good in the relationship and to continue to grow, we need to have these conversations. And so I lately I've had a few things where I've needed to talk to people about. And over the years, I would say one of the individuals over time that I've had to have these conversations with, and they've never been easy, but they have always brought us to a better place in our relationship. And I will say now I feel really good about this relationship, and it's with my mom. And many times I would bring up things that maybe she said or did that offended me, or practices that I didn't feel comfortable with. Part of it is that I don't naturally feel comfortable responding immediately to things that maybe I'm not comfortable with. And so it sometimes then settles in, and then later on it bothers me. And so that's why it sometimes seems like a bigger deal to bring up these topics, especially for other people that maybe it's not as important to them. They don't feel the need as much or as sensitive to the things that I might feel sensitive about. But I will say that there have been times in my life where having difficult conversations has caused a division in some relationships, and that has been extremely hard. But then over time, I realized that those relationships maybe didn't stand the test of time, or maybe they weren't as important to continue. But our truth, we have to feel good in relationships. We have to feel like we can be ourselves in relationships. And if we can't do that, and we can't let our needs be known, or our thoughts and feelings be known when we really feel like we need to, then it's probably not a healthy relationship. So I just want to kind of add that caveat that having difficult conversations, sometimes in some relationships, we know that there are people that cannot, I want to say, can't handle or choose not to uh, have difficult conversations, or maybe they're fine without it and they're not comfortable at all with having them. And so sometimes those relationships just tend to change, and you just kind of accept each other as you are, but you know that there are certain topics or conversations that you can't have with that person. And so there's all kinds of different situations and scenarios. What I'm talking about today are conversations that we have with people that we have an integrity or a integral or real relationship with. These relationships mean a lot to us. We place value in them. And so in order to continue to feed that relationship and to grow in that relationship for both you and the other person, we do need to have difficult conversations sometimes. And so that's, I think, the challenge. We're usually having difficult conversations with people that we really care about and that we love and we respect. But we do need to also honor, who God created us to be. And so we do need to verbalize sometimes when we're uncomfortable with something, or our needs are different than theirs, or our needs have changed, or maybe our boundaries. We've become more aware of boundaries that we need. And so then we need to verbalize that. So there's all kinds of situations and scenarios. But for this conversation, I'm going to say that this would be somebody that would be like a spouse, a parent, a very close friend, a child, I don't know if I said sibling, but these are important relationships that I feel that are worth having that difficult conversation with. So I just want to share 5 things that I believe are important reasons to have difficult conversations. And I want to say the first is to support authenticity within the relationship. And because each relationship is different, we have to also realize that each person is different. Each of us are unique and authentic, and we were created specifically different from everybody else. So there's no way that we could actually know or understand everything about another person without communicating that to each other. And so in order to respect our own authenticity, to respect the other person's authenticity, and to have a relationship that is truly authentic, we do need to have difficult conversations sometimes. And we always want to be looking for the truth. We always want to be coming to a place of understanding or agreement. So even if we feel like our truth, when we talk about the truth, we might have different views of it, at least we could maybe come to an understanding and respect of the differences in each of us. And so the first thing is supporting authenticity, both in the relationship and individually. The second thing that I think, the second reason that I think it's important to have difficult conversation is for us to understand and respect the other person's emotional boundaries. So everybody, again, is very unique. Everybody has their own needs. There are some people that have very wide boundaries, and very little things need to kind of be separated. Maybe they kind of have that type of personality that they can tolerate a lot of change, or being around a lot of people that disagree with them, or maybe don't do the things that, the way that they feel need to be done, or what their needs are maybe less when it comes to relationships. And then other people seem to have more specific and personal needs than somebody else does. And so, in order to respect each other's boundaries, we have to know what those boundaries are. And I think a lot of times we can sense that, and we can kind of see and figure it out. But there are definitely times that we actually need to talk about it. And so that is the second reason why difficult conversations are important in relationships that we value. The third thing is that by having conversations with the people that we love, we are actually deterring the adversary from attack. So the devil is the father of lies and the author of confusion. And one of the scripture verses I'd like to refer you to is John chapter 8, verse 44. And so when we assume that we know what other people want, or we assume that we know what people think, we can really run into big trouble, because there's no way that we always know what people are thinking, or there's pretty much no way that we know what people are thinking, first of all. But even knowing what people want, over time we can figure out kind of what we think that they want. But unless it's actually directly coming from them, we really don't. And so, because the devil is the father of lies and the author of confusion, he loves that this is an area of vulnerability that can actually cause us much harm if we don't take care of it and tend to it. So I might have a certain belief or understanding of something. You might have a certain belief or understanding of it. And where our beliefs and understandings come from might be the same place. It might be both very good intention, But without communicating and actually verbalizing and agreeing to disagree, we can actually begin to see each other as the enemy. And that is not the truth. So, we really, in relationships that are important to us, we need to make sure that we are regularly tending to each other through communication and through open dialogue. Because again, the devil loves when there is poor communication. He loves to confuse us. He loves to put things in our heads that, we didn't actually agree to or choose to think. But when we're not communicating, we are actually at risk for the adversary taking advantage of that situation. The fourth thing that I believe is why difficult conversations are very important is because it helps us to appreciate where the other person's ideas and beliefs come from, even if we disagree. I can't tell you how many times I've had a conversation with somebody and we are on totally different sides of the aisle when it comes to our beliefs or our thoughts on a certain topic. And I don't mean aisle as far as politics, but I guess that could be an example of it also. But when I have dug a little deeper and heard what they had to say and shared what I had to say, mostly I'll say when I've heard what they had to say, it may not have changed my mind, but at least made me understand where they were coming from and knowing that their intentions were most likely good. That being said, I'm just going to add on that it is not a healthy relationship if one person is always trying to understand and support the other, but that other person isn't trying to understand and support you. So, a healthy relationship, there is balance. There's not one person that you have to walk on eggshells for. You have to constantly appease. You have to always be the one to apologize. You feel more responsible for that relationship. That's not a healthy relationship, in my view. Both people need to be able to feel that they can be themselves and that their thoughts and ideas are appreciated, even if we don't agree with them. And so there needs to be balance. And I'm going to share the last thing, the fifth reason why I believe that having difficult conversations in valued relationships is important is because it brings issues and concerns into the light where they can be dealt with openly. And so I'm going to actually reference you also to Matthew 18, verse 20. And that scripture says that when two or three are gathered in my name, so too am I. So that's Jesus is also present. And so when we keep issues and concerns or dislikes or situations that we're not happy with, that we're uncomfortable with, when we keep that hidden and in the dark, even if it's causing us anxiety or stress, again, I think the devil actually really loves this. Those issues tend to fester and cause us more harm than good. But when we can bring it out into the open and into the light and share it with somebody else that we care about, whether it's sharing it with somebody to support ourselves, but most importantly, in a relationship where this specific topic has to do with your relationship, your communication, your habits and practices as either spouses, siblings, parent and child, or close friends. By doing that, we become more objective and we become more empowered to deal with the topic and resolve it. So I'm just going to repeat the five things that are reasons that it's important to have difficult conversations with relationships that are valuable to us. The first is to support authenticity within ourselves and within the relationship. The second is to help us understand and respect each other's emotional boundaries. The third is to deter the adversary from attack. The devil loves poor communication. The devil loves confusion. The devil is the father of lies. So when we do not work through differences or difficult topics, it really puts us in a vulnerable place for attack from the devil. The fourth is that it helps us appreciate ideas and beliefs from the other person, even if we don't agree with them. We can then agree to disagree, but at least we understand where they're coming from. And the last one is that it helps us bring issues and concerns into the light where they can be dealt with openly. I sometimes say tended to, but then when we can bring them into the light to work through them, we can also then resolve issues, and just move forward in our relationship in a better place. And we can continue to grow as individuals and as couples. Again, um, people in relationships, no matter what the relationship is, if it's a relationship that you value and that's important to you, I would definitely say have the difficult conversation, but please stay tuned to my next episode because I will share with you things to consider and to do prior to, during, and after having difficult conversations with people that we love. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a truly blessed and beautiful day. God bless you.